Now I know, I understand, right? I get it, right? The AFC North has always been a defensive division. I understand, but it's been kind of nice. Look, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase put offensive fireworks, Lamar Jackson, offensive fireworks. You got Deshaun Watson in the division now. You know, we've seen some kind of cool things with Odell and Jarvis Landry and Nick Chubb and that combination over there in Cleveland. You got Pittsburgh and, what the heck Pittsburgh does. But I know it's always been a defensive division, but you're not gonna tell me of all people that the Cleveland Browns defense tried to say before this week that they was better than the Ravens. The Ravens still run the North, and that's for you, Cleveland. All right, welcome into Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks. Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, I am a huge Joe Flacco fan. Wise Usher once said, "Situations will arise in our lives." I'm talking about shut down. Like you're not throwing on Jimmy Smith. Joe is criminally underrated. Lock him up in cuffs. Criminally underrated. Lamar's put this team as a top 5 offense for the first time in 20 years. Got the arm talent. Jay Cutler had it too. I don't care about this argument against total TDs and all this. Oh, you want to talk about defense? Oh, until next time. Going on, good people? DJ Bill, your host, back at it again. It's Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. If you're a Ravens fan, of course. And oh my goodness, the Ravens with the 28-3 victory. How quickly the league can change in a week. In a week. I mean, it was time to hit the panic button. We was hitting the button. We said it's over with. No. We can't be doing this. Contendership gone. Championship gone. Season over. And I told y'all, I said, wait a minute now. It's week 3. It's week 3 in a new offense with injuries all over the friggin' place. Relax. Calm down. I don't know if y'all listen to me. I don't know. But to me, coming off that Colts loss, I understood the frustration. I understood to a certain degree the level of panic. But the Ravens do this. This is what they do. They weird like this. They like to lose to a team they shouldn't lose to early in the season so they can make America's game at the end of the season when they win the Super Bowl much better, right? That's usually how I go about it, right? You remember a couple of years ago when nothing went right and I tried to turn everything into an America's game scenario. That was me, right? Everybody's injured. Third string running back injured. We picking up guys off the street. No Lamar Jackson for a game of the playoff. Cool. That's going to make America's game that much better. Well, I'm going to be honest with y'all. We didn't get featured in America's game. And if we did, we got featured getting bounced out of the first round of America's game. So it didn't even end up like I thought it was going to end up. But anyway, anywho. 28-3, the Ravens get the in-division victory against the Cleveland Browns. Let's bring it. Let's put it up on the screen here so y'all can see. So I can see what's up. So y'all can see what's happening with these Cleveland Browns, man. Because for me, when I watch Cleveland, I think Cleveland has so much potential, man. I think Cleveland, the potential that they have, how good they could be. I think Cleveland has so much potential. They have all the potential in the world to be a really good team. It just don't always come together for Cleveland. They get the talent all over the place when it comes to, we talk about 2019 when the Ravens ended up having a quarterback win MVP and not the Browns. The Browns didn't even make the playoffs that season. It's like, the Browns just can't get out of their own way. And my thing is this, I don't disrespect the Browns nearly as much as I might disrespect the Chargers or maybe the Bills or somebody like that or the Cowboys, right? I don't disrespect the Browns as much because I've seen the Browns consistently compete with the Ravens over and over and over again and give us a game, whether they were 0-6, they was going into an 0-16 season or they was going into a winning season. It didn't really matter. They was going to play us tough regardless. But let's jump into this one. Let's get right into it. 28-3, the Browns ended up taking the L against the Ravens. That top ranked defense of Cleveland that I think was highly ranked in a lot of different categories, but on this day they were not. They couldn't figure it out. You're kind of looking at it right there. Lamar Jackson was 15 and 19 for 186 for 2 touchdowns. Gus Edwards had 15 carries for 48 yards, so nothing too crazy going on in the run game. Um, Lamar Jackson had 4 TDs on the day. Just looking at the leaders right there, you ain't gonna see all of that. But um, the defense held Dorian Thompson Robinson, uh, the young prodigy of the preseason at least. 19 of 36, 121, 3 INT. Shout out to the defense for turning this team over. And shout out to David Njoku, too, real quick. Because David Njoku, he was involved in a house fire of his house. And he sustained some burns, but came out here and led the Browns in receiving, man. I didn't even know, I think he was questionable going into the game, but he came in and he played he played well. He was the bright spot for the Browns offense, kind of the security blanket for DCR. But nonetheless, I felt like let's jump right into it offensively. Offensively, I just think I think the Ravens played not even close to up to their potential because they still punted the ball like 4 or 5 times. Right when they got up big, they got into ultra conservative mode, especially in like the third quarter more than anything. They got real conservative, but I felt like honestly, I felt like the offense. I think they looked good. They looked efficient, and I think sometimes that's okay. I think we want to see fireworks. We want to see these big plays and these awesome plays, and I get that. I understand that. I'll be honest. I'm still living off 2019. Me seeing a close game is like, wait, what? Wait, no, that's not how the Ravens do it. They blow people out and then sit people in the fourth quarter. I get to come in the fourth quarter or something like, but it's not like it's this is a league that changes week to week, year to year, and it's crazy because the Ravens play. I talked about it in that 2020 season. I felt like the Ravens had to learn how to play close games. They had to learn how to play from behind because they just hadn't been behind with this Lamar Jackson led offense. And this game got back to playing kind of your game if you're the Ravens. I feel like the Ravens was playing their game. They were doing their thing. I felt like the run game was as good as it. The run game wasn't. It wasn't lighting people up, but the run game did its job. But one thing I did feel like about the run game is I don't think the run game really put this game away. It did closer to the end of the game, but when it came down to like the third and fourth quarter when they need the run game to kind of gas you a little bit, I don't think they were getting that. And they started kind of getting a little bit passive, I felt like, especially in the pass game. Mark Andrews led the Ravens with 5 receptions for 80 yards. Zay Flowers had 3 receptions for 56. That's probably the least he's had all season long. And that was about it for the receivers. Nelson Aguilar had that almost touchdown, that beautiful throw by Lamar in the corner of the end zone, putting it right there. The one reception Melvin Gordon had for 23 yards was a beautiful throw by Lamar. I felt like, this game kind of it reminded me a little bit of the MVP season a little bit because in 2019, I think sometimes it's forgotten that in 2019 the Ravens weren't like the most high-powered offense in the league or anything. They were more so the most efficient offense in the league. Like they weren't necessarily putting up bunches of numbers. It was more so the fact that they were scoring on a lot of drives, right? They were turning people over and scoring on a lot of drives, and this offense was just moving people around. It was moving people downfield, and I think that was good. I think that's a good thing. I think seeing this offense get back to that, seeing this offense get back to efficiency, because a lot of people look at 186 and be like, 186, that ain't enough. But would you rather have 200 to 300 yard game where the Ravens end up losing that game by 3, maybe to I don't know the Colts, or would you rather have this 186 for 186 and then 4 touchdowns sprinkled in? I feel like that's another thing like that is forgotten about is you don't You want I mean like I care about scoring more than I care about yards. I've always been that person. I've always been that fan, right? I've been that person who watches football and I'm like, go score. I don't care how you do it. If it's a kick return, punt return, whatever, fumble recovery, it don't matter. Block kick, it don't matter. Like, go score. Yeah, I want to see a high powered offense, but a lot of times it is balance that wins you, these things. Like we talked about it before with Kansas City. Kansas City's defense is not great by no means, right? Kansas City's defense is not great by no means, but Kansas City's defense is opportunistic. They get takeaways when they need to, and I think we're starting to see that as we pivot into the defense. We're starting to see that a little bit more from the Ravens defense as well. Kyle Van Noy, I don't know how much he played. I don't know. I don't know if he had something to prove, but I felt like Calvin Noy it felt like he was everywhere. I don't think he played nearly as much as it felt like he did, but his impact made it feel like he was on the field everywhere. He was playing every position you possibly could. Of course, Roquan Smith had a good game. Kyle Hamilton had a good game. I think Kyle Hamilton is slowly turning into like, everything you need him to be. I think, a lot of people don't agree with drafting Kyle Hamilton at 14, I think he was. And they don't agree with that because they're like, oh, he's a box safety. But I think Kyle Hamilton is literally everything. Like, if you could summarize the Ravens defense and how they want to play, Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, Patrick Queen, even if you go into like guys like Tyus Bowser, even Owe too. And I know a lot of people don't want to put Owe in that conversation, but like his style, that style of play where like you can do a whole bunch of different things. I think that's what the Ravens want out of these guys. I don't think they want Kyle Hamilton to just sit in center field and pick people off. I think they want him to be able to play center field if you have to, to be able to get that big pick in the end zone, to seal games. But I think at the same time they want to be able to use his speed off the edge, and utilize his athleticism and his length to bat down passes at the line and stuff like that too, and use his ability and his speed and his physicality to play against tight ends as well. And we're seeing that. And I think I said it before. I said it a while back. I felt like the Ravens were the type of team that this is kind of what they need to do more of. When they drafted Trenton Simpson, he was one of those guys that and he hasn't been playing nearly as much as I think we thought he would. But when they drafted Trenton Simpson, I felt the same way. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm like, this is the type of guy who the Ravens would really want to have. A guy who can probably play a couple of different positions, a guy you can put out of position, and he's made to be out of position. And that's been a little bit of the stubbornness of the Ravens over the past 5 to 10 years, really, at least, has been that stubbornness of trying to make a project out of somebody who's already had success wherever they at. Project Pat. You've seen guys who they want to try to put them in different positions. They draft corners to put them at safety and stuff like that. And it's just interesting to me. Like, but now it seems like now that they've gotten more into that, and that's exactly what they want to do. They start to do a little more with it. But definitely, I think this is a good win for the Ravens. I think number one, it's in the division. Any win in the division, man, is gonna be one of your more important wins out of anything, right? I'd rather you win this game than even win the Colts game. Yes, I'd rather have them both, but at the same time, it's like I'd rather you win this one. I think this defense looks lights out. Um, because this defense has played also against talented cast. And of course, we'll see some more talent going, throughout this schedule. Of course, the Dolphins are later on in the season. San Francisco is later on in the season. The Seahawks are later on in the season. We're going to see some more talented cast. We're going to see a healthier Bengals team. We're going to see a healthier Browns team. Of course, you got the Steelers coming up this week, Ravens Steelers week, which is always fun. So honestly, I think this defense is going to get tested, but I think they're up for the test. I think Mike McDonald is getting the chance to really like lean into what he does, what he wants out of these guys. And I'm excited to see how it goes. Now, of course, we got the news about David Ajabo, and we got the news about him and his injuries and stuff like that, and it could be a season ender. And I think I think another thing too that I want the Ravens to do. This might be a whole another discussion for a whole another day when I can actually get it out a little bit better. But I think the Ravens gonna have to stop being so darn stubborn. I really do. I think they're gonna have to. That I get it. You drafted this guy in the second round. He's got potential, but it's like and it might be the same thing, unfortunately, with J.K. Dobbins, right? At this point in J.K. Dobbins' career, with his injury history, what would you rather do? Would you rather just go ahead and make a big trade right now, um, and fill that spot for the next couple of years, or do you want to wait and hope on somebody? Ronnie Stanley is another big question mark, unfortunately. As much as I think Ronnie Stanley is a really good left tackle when healthy. The issue is the caveat's always going to be when healthy, and when has Ronnie Stanley truly been healthy over the past 3 years? That's hard to say, unfortunately. So I think the Ravens got decisions to make. Absolutely, I think when it comes to these injuries and stuff like that, when it comes to the bye week, when it comes to the trade deadline, the Ravens got decisions to make too. But I mean, honestly, bro, like I'm impressed by this defense. I can be one to say I was wrong. You know, I was wrong about this defense because I thought this defense was going to struggle a little bit, especially without Marlon, no MP. But the way these corners are played, man, the way this secondary is played specifically, like I'm just impressed. I mean, honestly, I'm impressed top to bottom. I don't think they've been getting as many sack numbers as maybe they should, but pressure wise, getting after quarterbacks, making them make errant throws or at least throw it away. I think there's been more of that this year than anything. And I think even when they have to blitz, it's not like they're blindly blitzing, right? It's not like, oh, I'm a blitz and we'll see how it goes. Like no, like they're blitzing with strategy on the back end, and I think that's big. I think that's big. I think that's exactly what the Ravens need to do. Um, and I think the secondary is playing really well. I think we'll be amazed how this secondary plays once Marlon comes back, because we know Marlon has the ability to shut people down, shut top receivers down, especially with help. And it seems like he's got that. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. You can raise your hand if you feel like you can raise your hand, and I'll mark it in my mind because I obviously can see y'all. But you can raise your hand if you felt like this secondary was gonna be this good. I felt like when MP was gone, especially the way the first week kind of played out, right? CJ Stroud was throwing it around the yard and stuff like that. Like it felt like this secondary could be in for a long little stretch. But to see them play the Bengals, who got a lot of talent, we know, to see them play the Browns, even with a backup QB, they still got talent on that team, offensively especially. So to see them play in the way that they have early on in the season, I think they'll be really, really good. I'm excited. You know how it is. It's Ravens Steelers week, so it'll be a lot of fun. My biggest thing, my early, way too early prediction for this game would be, I want to see the Ravens play clean, and you're probably gonna hear that all week long. Uh, you know, any video you hear from me talking about Ravens Steelers is probably gonna be talking about playing clean, because the Ravens against the Steelers has been uh, the messiest thing, especially with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. I think Lamar does a good job of protecting the ball for the most part. I know this season ain't been his best when it comes to fumbles and stuff, but I think he's done a pretty good job of protecting the ball. But against the Steelers, for whatever reason, he just had his struggle. So if they can if this offense can show some more flashes against the Steelers, I think it's going to be big to play against that defense, and how a well coached defense, a really good defense, a talented defense, with talented guys up front too. I think it's going to be very, 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 very interesting to see what exactly the Steelers game plan is going into. I'm excited because I mean the other thing is too, like, the offense isn't there yet. The offense ain't there yet. This offense is not at the peak of where they want to be. This offense is not, quite settled yet. This offense is missing guys. This offense is missing talent. They're missing offensive linemen. They're missing running backs. They're missing receivers. They're missing tight ends. Like this, they missing Cole, I guess. But this offense is missing guys. So because of that, you can only hope that with health it gets even better, and it already looks good right now. You just put up 28 points, and I think one of them was a pick six, so 21 points against a really good Cleveland defense. Um, so it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see, but I'm gonna come back later on in the week with the Steelers Ravens preview. That should be a lot of fun, and hopefully some other topics to throw at you throughout the week. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. Remember, as always, Fly Nation Speaks is on all major podcasting platforms. That's what is that? I mean, what is that? Spotify, Podcast, Google Podcasts, all of them. And if you want to watch as well, Facebook and YouTube. Um, More so YouTube, I think, lately. More so YouTube than anything. So check that out. Subscribe if you haven't. Favorite the show. Add it to the queue. I always say add it to the queue. When there's no more queue to be had, I'm still gonna say add it to the queue. But anyway, definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll see you guys on the next episode of Fly Nation Speaks. I see y'all. Hope y'all have a good one. We'll be back very, very soon.